if we go here, right, the drill will be a step drill. But this is the unique drill. Instead of usually having a step drill where you just start here and move the club back as you move forward, we're going to use both feet, right? So now we're going to start off with about our feet together. Then I want you to take a mini step right and then take a mini step left. Now, however, the timing is very important, right? So we starting with feet. So right goes first, the club goes back. And then the sooner we can start this lead foot to step this way, the more speed we can develop, right? So it'll be this way. And so a lot of times with the best pros is compared to amateurs is that they are starting their transition coming down as the club goes back. While for a lot of amateurs, we're starting it at the top where they started beforehand. And so if you can get this foot to go and then get this to start as soon as possible, then you'll be able to have the same type of move that the pros have. And now, if we set up, we can apply the same thing. So it will be this move. Going back dynamically using that lead foot to go back. And then now we try to push off the right to get to the left as the club goes back to help us develop that speed. This analogy, so if I put this club here, obviously we know that a golf club has weight to it, so it's going to want to go towards the way in which it's most heavy. But if we think of this, and I have my finger in the middle, this is easily seen as what? A balance beam. So that balance beam analogy is what we can use to cure our early extension. And I'm going to demonstrate it so you can understand. So what I'm going to do is take the club head and put it above my head while the button of the club is where my tailbone is on my pelvis. Then I'm going to set up. And so once I take my backswing, the goal is for us to tilt this balance beam to the right. So if I tilt it to the right, that would be here, right? Now what am I doing? My chest is moving down, my hips are moving back and flexing, which is what we saw in that deadlift. And then now, as we get to this phase, now we're going to tilt the balance beam to the left, which is now me extending my hips up, my chest and back are extending into the finish. So again, I'm going to demonstrate it from the face on. So once I take my backswing, the goal is to tilt this balance beam to the right. So that would be in this direction, forward just from face on. So I'm tilting to the right. Now my chest is down, my hips are back and hinged, and then I'm in flexion. And then once I'm halfway down here, now I'm going to tilt this balance beam back to the left. Chest is moving up and back. Hips are extending up and moving forward. Just like that. So after seeing that, to demonstrate it this way, if this was the right side of the balance beam and this was the left side of the balance beam, and obviously in a tilted position because of the golf swing, when I tilt this balance beam to the right, if this was my body, you can see that my body will be moving in flexion, my chest and my head will be moving downwards towards the golf ball, and then as well, my hips will be moving back and hinging in flexion. Then, as I start coming up from halfway down, I'm going to tilt this balance beam back to the left. So if this were my hips are now moving towards the golf ball, and this club head that's to the right is now where my chest is moving up and back. So that is a simple and great analogy we can use as a visual to cure early extension. And obviously, we still have to rotate because the golf swing is a circle, but if we see as my head being the right side of the balance beam, and my tailbone and where my pelvis is being the left side of the balance beam, and I tilt to the right as I come down, and tilt to the left as I come back up, that is a simple analogy that you can use in order to cure your early extension. So all I'm going to do here is demonstrate a few movements. And these movements for my lead hand is going to demonstrate what conditions you have with the slice. So all I'm going to do is put my wrist in this neutral position with this club. Now, what I'm going to do is hinge my club up, right? So that's another term for called radial deviation. So I'm going to hinge my club up this way, and then from here, I'm going to also extend my wrist. So this way. So then, once you look here, you can see that this club face is now open, right? And this is the open club face position we don't want. And then from here, because if we rotate without trying to manipulate, it's going to go to the right, or we're going to manipulate it and swing over the top and have that path go too far left. But then now, what I'm going to demonstrate again with this neutral wrist position is the position that you want to get into to have a square club face. So this time what I'm going to do is owner deviate my wrist, so uncock or unhinge my wrist this way, here, and then next, what I'm going to do next is flex my lead wrist this way. Now, as you look here, now we have a more square club face. And this is the position with the lead wrist we want to get into halfway down from here to be able to rotate without manipulation and shift that club face on the right side of this target line, and also that path as well to hit more of those draws and stop those slices. So again, for the slice, what you're probably currently doing is radial deviating and extending the wrist, which opens the club face, because you can see how it's not parallel to my spine, the toe is all the way up to the sky. Versus if we have it where I owner deviate and flex my wrist, that now this club face is parallel to my spine, and all I have to do is rotate through the shot without any manipulation. When I'm doing this, in order to turn this lead arm and adduct it into my chest, that you see how my upper and lower body is able to separate? So if I don't separate my upper and my lower body, so if they both go together, you can see how this lead arm doesn't adduct into my chest. So if we see it from here, if I go to the top, a little further, going to the top right here, if I start them at the same time, then my left arm shoots out. And so that's the usual tendency for those who get steep in the downswing and come over the top. So instead, we need to have the ability to have this arm turn into the chest. So more so, my upper body staying a little bit stable while my lower body is able to separate, which gets that adduction into my lead arm. Then from there, you can catch the upper body up and turn straight through it. So the drill I'm going to demonstrate for you guys is going to help you to have the feel of showering the club while also separating your upper and lower body. So this drill I like to call is the trail fist under drill. So I want you to have a backswing. So go to the top. I want you to go to the top. Then from here, I want you to take your right fist and I want you to put it under your left wrist. Now, as you turn, I want you to start turning in your downswing, but keeping this right wrist under this lead wrist. And then as you keep turning, you'll see how that's forcing me to have that lead arm adduction and that lead forearm pronation. And then as well, you'll feel a stretch within this arm as you keep turning, as your lower body keeps going. And you see the more I turn, the more this shallows. Then from here, you can let it go and then rotate. So again, face on, go to the top, put this fist under the lead wrist. Then from here, you're gonna keep turning as you keep this wrist under here. And with that, my lead arm is getting shorter, essentially, the radius, so I can't control the mass of this club head anymore, so that drops the mass of the club behind me. And from there, I'm able to rotate without any manipulation, and most importantly, I'm able to come from the inside. So coming from the inside at this position where it's this shallow, then it incentivizes me to rotate and get it on top of the ball. So we're gonna put it under the foot. We're gonna go through the same sequence of club, arms, torso, then pelvis, right? And if you notice, when it comes to my voice right now, it's harder for me to talk. Why? Because my core is activated and my muscles are stretched. Now, let's look at this. If I were to just turn flat this way, you see how my voice, I'm still able to talk to you very clearly. And the other way, where I reverse pivot, I'm able to talk to you as well. So that's an indication if you're coiling in your backswing compared to just turning. So if you take the golf club, same thing applies. So if I'm here and I just turn this way, that I can still talk to you very clearly. You can hear my voice very clearly. There's no difference in the volume. Then from here, if I reverse pivot, you can still hear my voice. So what this is called is the talk test. And a lot of times in fitness, they use this talk test to see how much exertion is being applied in a certain exercise. And because exercises involve our core, that's why we're not able to talk as much and with the same volume. So again, if I take my backswing, you'll notice when I take it, you can see how my voice now has changed because my core is activated and my muscles are stretched.
I hate to admit this, that I was once in your shoes where I was scrolling on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok on the latest golf tip to help me improve my golf game. Did that work for me? Maybe for about a few days or a week, but it never helped me improve long term. So what I learned and what you need to learn is that you need to know what your body can do physically and also what your most optimal golf swing is to help you improve your golf game. So how does that come into picture with me? Well, I will help you to understand your most optimal golf swing using both a TPI physical assessment to see what you can do physically, along with Sportsbox AI technology to help you to understand what your body is currently doing, and then also tracking the progress of specific parameters that we focus on to help you to improve your golf game. Ready to take action to improve your golf game on a long-term basis? Comment down below the word assess and let's get started. Why are club path and swing direction different? Well, there is a key factor in why they are, and that is attack angle, right? So club path factors in attack angle compared to swing direction does not. And I'm going to explain it to you using a driver, and then here I have a wedge. So I'm going to set up here, right, with a driver and a wedge. And as we know, and as you can see, because of the lengths of each club, that the driver is going to be further up in my stance. So that would be ball position compared to a wedge, just because of the length and it's shorter. And so that's going to influence our attack angle, which is how the club is coming into the ball and striking the ground. So with a wedge, our attack angle will be more down just because the ball position is further back because of the length of the club. Compared to a driver, the attack angle will be more up. One, because it's on the tee, and two, because the ball position is more up, and lastly, because the length of the golf club, or which sets the radius of my arm. And so that is the key difference why club path and swing direction are different. And so why is that going to influence our ball flight? I'm going to show you here. So what we have here is our imaginary target line. And these two sticks here represents just the arc that the club swings on. And that would be swing direction per se. And then now here I have 3 different golf balls in 3 different ball positions, right? So this will be middle, back, and front. So if I were to set up here, as you can see, this wedge is more with this ball in the back ball position compared to the one where the driver is, which is in the front. And so let's say if I were to swing both of these clubs at the same time, right? So as you can see, both the wedge and the driver are swinging on the same plane, right? So that would be swing direction. So say if swing direction was 0, right? However, because I'm hitting the driver later in the arc and I'm hitting the wedge sooner in the arc, that's going to change my club path, right? So with the wedge, my club path is going to be more in to out because I'm bottoming out earlier compared to the driver, I'm bottoming out later. And also that's going to affect the face angle. So for the face angle with the wedge, the face angle will be pointed more towards the right, incentivizing a draw. Compared to the driver, when I bottom out, even with the same swing direction, the driver is going to bottom out more forward in the arc, and that's going to have my club face more closed. So that is why club path and swing direction are so important. And the goal with short game is to be able to control how soft we can land the ball to get close to the hole. So here's a drill that I want you to do to apply this closed stance and get that front foot as the pivot foot instead of the trail. So this is just called the closed stance drill. And just set up an alignment stick that is at the target with your feet, and then set up the ball. And then what you're going to do is, say for example, if you lined up with both feet at the target, I just want you to set this foot back a little bit. Now that gets this left leg as the pivot foot, and just hit some chip shots just like that. And what you'll find is that you have more predictable contact and you're using a bounce more because you're shallowing out. So it'll feel like you're hitting like some mini draws. And that's going to help you to shallow out instead of be so steep and use the leading edge, which can result in consistent contact, especially out this rough. And I would say the more you are in this type of rough and gnarly lies, the more closed stance you would apply to have more, to use the bounce more and to have more control as you hit the ball up in the air. So let's say if I wanted to hit one higher, I will actually close my stance even more and open my face a little bit and hit a little draw. Just like that. And even with a lower one, but it will still be spinnier and more control, you will have just more of a less closed stance, say more to square, and then I will hit a lower shot. Then the second thing is being able to recenter the chest and the pelvis sooner in the backswing. Now, it's only for a moment, as we saw in Justin Thomas's swing. So this is what he did. So, as I mentioned, there are two terms, center of mass and center of pressure. So, our center of mass is here, right in line with the middle of our sternum. And our center of pressure is just within the middle of our feet. So, if I were to shift, right, and load to the right side, now both my center of mass and center of pressure are moving to the right side, right? But then we saw Justin Thomas start to recenter his chest as he started to keep loading to the right, right? And that happened in the phase when he started from just pure rotation to extending and side bending. So I want you to arms out and also release your head too. Good. Cause like, are you like this in football?
No.
Where are you at?
Look at what I'm throwing.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Do a practice swing just like that again. Perfect. Just like that.
Okay.
Go ahead and hit the ball. Same thing. 9-3. Hold that finish. Boom. There you go.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I don't see the bullseye there.
Just like that. Same thing.
All right.
That was good right there.
Oh yeah.
You feel the difference though?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. For some reason, thinking about the end of the swing helps the groove of the beginning of the swing to
Right.
go smoother.
You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
So when we move to the backswing, put this club down here. So we're going to go in phases. So for the backswing, if I'm in a compressed state, the first thing that's going to happen is my rib cage is going to move back, right? So we'll move this way to the right. So I'll move back, then it'll move up, and then it'll move around, right? And so now I have my full shoulder turn, right? And as you can see, my shoulders are turned, but also as well, my hips are already starting to turn. But I'm not thinking about my hips right now. All I'm doing is worrying about my rib cage. So then from the top, after this, then my rib cage moves forward, right? So it moves forward, then it moves down, right? So now I'm going from compressed to expanded, and then now I'm going back into compression. So down and forward, and then around. Now, as you can see, with just my rib cage moving like this, now my pelvis is starting to move forward now, right? And then from there, as I go back up on the follow through, I'm moving into expansion again. So now it's going to move up, forward, and around. And this is my finish right here. So as you can see, all I was worrying about is the movement of my rib cage. And in unison, my pelvis and my shoulders, so bottom and top, were moving in cohesiveness with my rib cage. So to break it down more simply, here's how I'm going to explain how the rib cage moves. So again, when we're setting up, we're in a state of compression, right? So not expanded, we're in a state of compression here, right? So my rib cage is down. So I kind of like to visualize it as if I'm plugging in, right? So let's say if this is my pelvis and this is my rib cage, I'm plugging in right here. Now I'm set to go. So once I'm in this state, then as I move in the backswing, as I go back, up and around, I'm actually going to be in a state of expansion, right? So because I'm not going to keep compressing because I have to move up and around. So that expansion allows my rib cage to move back and then allows me to turn, right? So it'll be this way. So it feels like my chest is getting a little bit bigger. So it'll be from here to there. And that allows you to turn in the backswing. So if I'm up top, then from here, then I'm going back into a state of compression. So this is compression. It'll feel like I'm doing a crunch, right? So going into a state of compression, moving forward, down and around, and then back into my follow through, I move back into expansion. So up, forward, and around. So that's how the rib cage is simply supposed to move.